PHP developer, guys. PHP developer job description. We are going to look at what to ask a hiring manager, what kind of questions to ask during a screening or interview call with a PHP developer. So stay tuned. This is Michael from Geek Recruiters. We are going to dive right in. So I'm just looking at the job description. This is a full stack PHP developer or maybe a backend developer only. We will figure this out. So let's dive right in. You should have access to this Google document that I have just opened. There should be a link below or above this video, so just find it on the page and copy this worksheet to your Google Drive. It's really easy, so you will be able to fill it in, all right? So now I'm looking at the job description and I can see they have a title PHP developer. So this is what we've copy-pasted. A colleague of mine copy-pasted from a public job board. The only thing we've changed is the name of the company. So ECMA is the common nickname, you know, how to anonymize the job description, the common way. So I'm just looking at the job description. I'm reading this first part, and I already noticed a few IT terms. So what you also can do is to print it out like I did just a while ago and get a highlighter, some marker or a pen or whatever, and then just highlight some of these key terms. It's important because on the other page you will fill in the blanks. So for example, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, this is the technical stack. So the definition of the four different layers. So the operating system, the web server, the database storage, and PHP is the programming language. Okay, so that's why LAMP, LAMP. Well, next I'm looking at the responsibilities and technical skills required. So what you can do and what I encourage you to do next, first download this worksheet, read the job description, and only then watch this video, all right? It will make more sense to you. Because I'll not read every sentence right now, it would just waste your time too much. So I'll just go to the second page just to make sure that you know what you are supposed to do. Fill in at the first paragraph or first box, then the second box, what IT terms you don't know out of those that were listed. So maybe it is LAMP, you know, LAMP, maybe you haven't ever heard about this, or maybe you haven't heard about Doctrine, so then fill it in. And then what would you ask a hiring manager? You know, just try to brainstorm. It's really great because this will put you maybe out of the comfort zone a little. Maybe not for this role, because this is one of the easier roles, right? But maybe for the more difficult roles, you will need to practice, and that will also help you, right? And here below on the third page, you can see my cheat sheet. So you can see the terms that I have identified. You can see also some explanation, tiny. You can see a few questions that I would ask a hiring manager and also what I would ask the candidate. So I'll probably make it a little bigger so you can read the text. So what we are going to do right now is to get back to the job description, and I'll highlight some of the key terms and I'll tell you what it really means to me. As a technical person, I used to be a developer, an IT consultant, a CTO. So often these terms are, you know, something that an IT person, you know, just works with on a daily basis. Same with this set of keywords: Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP identifies the technical stack. Develop communication channels. Nothing important. Recommend and implement technologies that make sense for the environment. Well, this doesn't really tell us much. Okay, let's go and read about the responsibilities. Take on change requests or new projects working in a LAMP environment. Perform investigation. Determine the best method to modify systems. Well, work with senior developers to coordinate changes. Utilize solid coding methods, including testing and documentation, contribute to the documentation, contribute to the team in both, and have fun. Okay, so what I can read here is that this person will be working with PHP. PHP is a programming language, right? And I'll show you our mind map in a while, so you see how this all fits together. There are some frameworks used in PHP, right? So maybe the framework will be listed down here. Let's see. Full stack PHP programming. And now this is interesting. They mentioned full stack. So full stack means backend and frontend. Although I don't recall anything front-end related in this JD. So let's see further. PHP is a backend programming language, right? MySQL, that's a database storage, a relational database storage. CRUD actually stands for create, read, update, and delete. So these are the 4 major activities that could be performed with data that is in database. So the data could either be created or read. We can just look up some data from the database. We can read them, or update it. Update some records in the database, or delete it, trash. Via Doctrine framework. Doctrine framework is a framework used to actually sort of automatically create the queries. So developers don't really need to write SQL queries themselves, but the framework sort of replaces this need. SQL table activities. SQL is another way to say these are relational tables. Okay, a working understanding of HTML, layout and design, JavaScript and CSS. So this is something that refers to the front-end work, even though this is very, very low level, very basic. So HTML layout, well, this is just super basic information. JavaScript and CSS. It's very, very easy to learn about JavaScript or CSS on a very shallow level, right? You can just write alert and that's it, right? That's already some level of knowledge in JavaScript, or in CSS you can just have color, semicolon, white, and suddenly you have white text. So this is very easy, but here in this case they don't say anything about the depth of knowledge, like working understanding. Does it mean passive knowledge, so just to read a code, front-end code, or what does it really mean? SVN or other code repository. Actually, SVN is already, I would say, obsolete. Many more projects use Git. So Git is a technology. GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, they use Git also, and the Git is much more popular than SVN. So it also comes back to a few questions I would ask the hiring manager, which we are going to focus on in a while. Successful or upcoming completion of computer science. Well, this is really interesting, and I have no clue why do they require, because we are looking at technical skills required. So it's not nice to have, apparently this is required. They require the developer to have a degree in computer science. But I would say for front-end developer, like, why? It's not necessary at all, a computer science degree. What else? Proven relevant experience, working in a PHP programming role. Well, this is important, right? They're looking for someone who's been working for 2 to 5 years. So this sort of maybe doesn't even make sense, or I would reframe it. Detail-oriented with excellent analytical problem-solving skill. Well, doesn't really tell us much. Strong written, nothing. Strong organization, time management, nothing again. Highly organized, well, nothing. So this is just fluff, right? I'm looking at what is really, really key about this role. Well, it's the not even LAMP, right? Because most likely this person will not be setting up the environment. It will be just coding as a developer. And I say just, it's not easy, but still. So PHP, we actually don't know about the framework used on the backend. There is no information about the framework, which is super important. So I would have it as a #1 question for the hiring manager. What is the backend framework? So let me just add it here. What framework is used on the backend? Okay, so it could be either a Laravel or Symfony, or there are a few frameworks. For example, in the Czech Republic, Neti is very popular. Zend is already, say, a little outdated. It's been here for ages, but Laravel or Symfony are trending these days. So what else could I ask a hiring manager? I could ask, will this PHP developer work on backend APIs, or will do also some front-end work? Most, well, not most, but lots of developers only want to work on the backend side to build some backend APIs or some integrations, integrate two systems together through APIs, exchange data, etc. Um, but in this case, it's not clear if this developer will only work on the backend side, because they sort of mentioned somewhere full stack, which also refers to the knowledge. Well, not just knowledge, right? One thing is to have knowledge, but the other way is, will he be really coding on the front end? So this is what I would also like to get from the hiring manager. Like, will the developer really code front end website, or should just possess the knowledge or the past experience? Okay, next question. Do you, as the company, as a team, do you use Git? Maybe instead of SVN, because Git is more trending. Maybe this is from some past job description, maybe outdated. So I would really clarify, are you sure you use SVN? Are you sure you want to communicate this in a job description? It's not the most coolest thing out there, so probably I would just leave it out. Do you have a senior PHP developer in the team? Again, important for developers who are already on some level. For juniors, very important. They need someone to learn from. But even senior developers who want to have someone to learn from. Why do you require a computer science degree for a PHP developer? This is something I would certainly ask. I would even rephrase the question. So say, would you, or what if I bring a great candidate who doesn't have a computer science degree? Would you still hire him or her? Okay, and if yes, well, then it's not really a requirement. I would just drop it from the job description. Is the knowledge of Doctrine a must-have? It is likely that person, well, let me rephrase, it's not likely, but not everyone must have solid experience with Doctrine, although it can be learned on the job fairly easily. So I would ask the hiring manager, hey, you listed it in the requirements, can we just train the person on the job? Would you also hire someone who doesn't have solid experience with Doctrine? Most likely his answer will be, oh, well, actually, yeah, we can train it on the job. So then I would ask, what are really the must-have skills? What are the 2-3 skills? Even we have Linux, Apache, most likely this person would not set these servers up. Maybe they're already set up. So I would expect someone else set it up already, and this developer doesn't need to have experience with these systems. I mean, one thing is to have experience using Linux. Like say, I can use Linux on some very shallow level, but I cannot really set up, whatever web server, database server, etc. And the last question I would ask is, would you also consider a PHP developer with strong knowledge of Symfony or Zend? Or like, what is the framework used? And maybe I could shift this to, under the first question. So based on the answer, I would ask this as a follow-up question. Okay, so these are the few questions I would ask a hiring manager based on what I saw on the job description above. And now, what would I ask a candidate? Say a candidate comes, or we have a Zoom call, because this is cool these days. So Corona-friendly or Corona-compliant way to interview candidates. I would ask, what's your experience with PHP? What projects have you delivered? Tell me more about the projects. Show me something that's live. I would ask, do you prefer creating websites, so front end, or backend APIs? What's your strength? Where do you want to spend your next 2 years? What area? Have you been using SVN or Git in your previous company? Most likely they would use Git, so that's great. What projects have you started from scratch? Have you designed the solution? This question is important because senior developers should know how to start projects from scratch, how to design it properly, and that's why I would ask this question. I would also ask, what other PHP frameworks have you been working with? This is important because as senior developer, say even a developer with 3, 4, 5 years of experience should already know a few frameworks within his preferred language. So say a PHP developer is mainly working with Laravel, but still should know about Symfony, should know about Zend and other frameworks, some of the most popular frameworks. Have you also coded in JavaScript on the front end? Now, we don't know if the company is looking for a full-stack developer who would be also coding on the front end. We ask this to the hiring manager, and it depends on the answer. So now we can only assume within this exercise. So if they really require someone to build websites, I would ask the candidate, have you also coded in JavaScript on the front end? Have you built something with React or with Angular? What framework have you used? So there are a few frameworks that the person could be using. So let me just get the mind maps up so you can see it all. Okay, so now we are looking at the booklet with mind maps, and I wanted to show you the PHP, where was it? PHP, here, C#, no, here, software development with PHP. So this is the PHP development landscape relevant for this particular job description. So you know that PHP is used for web development, right? There could be a full stack or a backend PHP developer. I'm just looking at a full stack developer, which means backend plus front end, right? And on the front end needs to be something else, right? It could be either React or Angular. So that's why, since we are looking for a full stack developer, we need to ask a little more about front end experience. Okay, what else? Here is also explained the popular stack, right? Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. So this is clear. You could obviously ask the candidate about the IDE he or she uses, but this is, this could be learned on the job. If in the company they use NetBeans, they, can train the candidate within, or the new employee, the new joiner, as a part of the onboarding. So within a few days, can learn the new IDE. Package managers. Yeah, I'll not go too deep in this. What I wanted to show you are frameworks. So based on the experience, or based on the framework they use in the company, we should look for a developer who already has this experience. So if they use Laravel, we should look for a developer with Laravel experience. However, frameworks can be also learned on the job. Developers can work with multiple frameworks at the same time. So as soon as someone is strong in PHP, then it is obviously, well, obviously it's not like super easy. They cannot just overnight wake up and suddenly they're great Symfony developers, but they can learn it because they can speak the language, PHP language. So this is what I wanted to show you. And yeah, I think that was most relevant. I'll not go through the rest of the mind maps. I'll go back to this job description. So this is it, guys. I really want to make it short and sweet. I think you can also go a little deeper if you'd like. If you like some of these, or not just like, but if you would like to understand some of these terms deeper, if you would like to learn more about PHP and related frameworks, then obviously in the IT Recruiter Toolkit there is much more. So I'll not go through all these terms, too deep, because yeah, this is not the purpose of this video. Now, I just wanted to go through the job description to make sure you understand who are we looking for, what questions would we ask, and then what follow-up questions possibly would we ask a hiring manager and a developer. So now I encourage you to fill in the worksheet if you have not done it yet, and then go through the other recommended videos so you learn a little more about these terms, frameworks, acronyms, programming languages, etc. Because it can only help you in your career as an HR specialist or a recruiter. So stay tuned. Day 2 is coming soon.